Why is there a pink thing in the urinal? Hi, welcome to Matt's Garage.
We're in season 7, the house of Matt's Garage. Is that what it's called?
That's what we decided to
Oh
call
yeah,
it.
sorry, yeah. I forget.
Okay.
So the house of Matt's Garage. And today we're going to be talking about site prep, which is why we're standing in front of this temporary electrical meter base.
We're going to take you through electrical and other utilities, porta-potties, silt fence, construction fence.
And some just general site preparation we did, getting ready for this part of the project. So let's go. We're sort of opposite where we shot that intro, and this is the cul-de-sac leading up to the house. So the first thing you do before you do anything that's below the very surface of the ground here is you call 811, dig alert, or whatever it is in your area, and they come through and they mark all the utilities. So they mark the gas, they mark the power. So the gas is usually yellow, or it depends on where you are, red for power, orange is fiber, and we got water, it's blue across the street. So it's very important you do that so you don't accidentally hit a line and disrupt service or possibly hit a gas line and actually create a problem for yourself. And I'm going to have Mrs. Matt's Garage swing around, trusty tripod. And one of the first things I did was put in this meter base. So I got a post hole digger, I dug out the post, dropped in a 4x4, put in the kickers, okay? And then I went and bought at your local Pratt electrical supply. I bought this Midwest Electric, which I think is a GE product. And then grounded it with a grounding rod. I had to rent if you can just follow the grounding to the grounding rod. That's an 8-foot rod I drove into the ground there with the lug that connects it. And then, so basically this is almost ready for me to call in for my inspection from L&I, which is the Washington State Labor and Industries. First I have to have the excavator dig out where I'm standing. You can see I marked out a box at my feet here. So I'm going to dig out a work area. I'm going to bring my conduit down, sweep it over, and then that's my transformer. The PSC will pull the conductors from the transformer to the temp power and we'll be good to go. In your area you might have an overhead, but the process is pretty simple. The difference will be that it'll be a top feed meter coming from a pole. And so you'll get your meter ready, then they'll come string the conductor.
Wait, is that a urinal? Why is there a pink thing in the urinal?
Why is there a pink thing in the urinal?
Yeah.
You don't spend a lot of time in men's rooms, do you?
No, I've never. What is the pink thing? Is that like an odor? What is that?
It's a breath freshener.
It's in the actual urinal? I'm sorry, I didn't know.
No, it's just a puck to keep the smell from being bad. Okay, go. What? So next to the temporary power pole is
The porta-potty.
yes.
Every construction site, every good construction site needs to have a porta-potty, of course. So instead of the typical honey bucket, we decided to change things up and we called Green Latrine.
Right.
Local company. I talked to Will, gave a great rate, so we hired him.
Behind the green latrine, I've got the silt fence. Now this is the south side of the property, so it rolls downhill, right? I mean, this property goes this way, so you have to put this up because this is like a semi-permeable fence. It'll let water through, but it captures the dirt and doesn't let the dirt through. These come in big rolls from Home Depot or whatever your hardware supply is. And you have the pain with these is you have to basically dig a 4x4 inch trench all the way down the line. And then you hammer in your stakes, you kind of fold the silt fence under it, and you fill it with dirt. Now, the contractors wanted thousands of dollars to install this, and I think I spent a total of $180 on the silt fence, and I rented a trencher for about $190 or 200 and something bucks. So I was able to save a lot of money by doing the silt fence myself, and there's no mystery to it. It's just hard work. I mean, you got to drive the stakes with the hammer, you got to dig it, and then you got to backfill it. One tip is when you're doing the trencher, I like to pull it backwards while my chain is going forwards, and that kind of left a nice neat pile on the side I wanted to do the backfilling from.
We're going to talk about the construction fence. These are required in the drawings to delineate the areas where construction shouldn't happen and to also protect our trees. We bought a bunch of stakes from Home Depot, 10 feet apart, and this orange construction fence. In some areas, we also bought some tape to just rope off the tree islands. Matt and I hammered the stakes in, and then we stapled this orange construction fence to the stakes all the way around the property.
One of the other things that's required in the drawings is a construction entrance. So that's the entrance to the property, and you're supposed to fill, depending on what your drawings say. Mine says 4 to 8 inches of quarry spalls. But when I rented the excavator earlier in the year to do some tree stumping, I went ahead and cut the circular driveway in, and I covered it with 1.25 inches minus. So rather than go ahead and bring quarry spalls in on top of that, we're going to try to see if this stands up. If it doesn't, we'll bring in the quarry spalls and stack it up according to the drawings. You really got to work with your local inspector to figure out what works and what doesn't. For us, the main thing is just not to tear up the earth with the excavators and other machines coming to the property. Just for reference, this was about 3 dump truck full loads of 1.25 inches minus. With that, I'm going to walk us down to the water meter so we can talk a little bit about that. I'm standing sort of at the corner of where you turn to go to the driveway, and this is where our water meter is. I actually couldn't find it. It was buried under years and years of deadfall and leaves, so I had the water district come out and locate it for me. I dug it up, I tested where the water line goes. That's not important. What's important is you got to communicate with your utility. So I had to go get a water availability report because this project requires fire sprinklers. Even though there's literally a fire hydrant on our property, because of the width of the driveway, they're requiring me to put these liquid booby traps in our house. And we tried to get out of it, but they won't budge. Because of that, you need a bigger meter. This is a 3/4 inch meter, and so they need to upsize to a 1 inch. Now we got lucky because the main line obviously comes off of that line that feeds the fire hydrants, but they actually brought a big enough line out to here that we can just upsize this to a 1 inch meter. So if you come in here, you can see the meter. This is the sort of communicating meter where they don't have to come in. So they're going to replace this meter with a 1 inch meter. And from there, it's going to be a 1.5 inch line to a backflow preventer that's going to go here. Our water district, if you have a fire hydrant, if you have a fire sprinkler system, our water district requires a backflow preventer. So the excavator is going to come dig a big chunk out of here. We're going to drop a box like this one, but bigger, for a backflow preventer, and then run a 2 inch all the way to the house, which should be able to feed, give good pressure for everything and supply the fire sprinklers with enough volume and pressure. Follow me, we're going to come a little bit further down the driveway, or the main road I should say. You can see the yellow markings here in this patch. So this is the gas main. I had the utility cut the gas back to the main. They don't always do that. You have to talk to them and understand your project. So our gas line was a 5/8, and that's just not enough to supply the new house, because the bigger house, we're running a gas oven, which we didn't run prior. What else are we converting to gas? The dryer. We're going to have 2 fireplaces, one indoor, one outdoor. So
it's just going to be,
thank you, generator. Probably a tankless water heater, which has a high gas consumption rate. Because of that, we need 1.25 inches. So been working with the utility and negotiating the contract. Not that you have any leverage. I mean, whatever price they give you is the price you're going to pay. But just working out the contract to run this gas line. The nice part about having the utility do it is basically I don't have to take any risk. Like, they'll come in and do the whole thing and run it to the meter and install the meter after the house is up. So that covers gas, water, and electrical. Now let's walk back up to the house, and we're going to start talking about the rest of the site prep.
Last but not least, there's internet. Normally when you think of shutting off internet, they just do it remotely and then start it back up when the next person moves into the house. So I spent a considerable amount of time trying to explain to them that we were demolishing the house and they actually needed to physically take their equipment away so we wouldn't get charged for it. Now there's still a Verizon Fios box here, but our service is now Ziply fiber, so hopefully they took the equipment they needed.
We ain't paying for it if they didn't.
Right.
That was the utilities. Now I want to talk about just the last few things we did to prep for this project in general. One is we dropped a 20-foot container on the site. This allows us to put in like bulky furniture. It allows us to rent a smaller place in the interim, and it's going to serve as my construction field office. There's actually a generator off to the side until I have temp power, and yard tools and just random stuff that you don't, Christmas decorations, stuff I don't need to take over to the rental. And then if you look back there used to be a shed and a chicken coop. Now that shed was not long for this life. It was falling apart, and the chicken coop was also falling apart. We were using it as wood storage, as you can see that giant pile back there. So last weekend I tore it down, Lethal Weapon 2 style, with my truck. That was really fun. What was not fun is then Mrs. Matt's garage and I carried the entire thing. Well, I mean, we loaded my truck and then in runs brought it and dumped it over here and then back on the patio behind you over there. And finally, you want to be a good neighbor. So go tell your neighbors you're going to be doing this. Let them know what to expect. Like one of my neighbors, I put up no construction parking signs in front of his house so that the guys don't park there, obviously. Also, you usually have to have your permit posted, so we just put it on the power pole because that's really the only thing that's going to be left standing, after we get started.
Yeah, and we're finally ready to put this machine to work.
Yeah, and we're going to bring this house down next time on Matt's Garage.